Hey guys, welcome back to Anthony's Tennis Hub. My name's Anthony Hirsch. Today we are doing the WTA draw for Wimbledon. I'm going to be doing the same thing that I did for the men's draw, which I will link above my head, where I will go through the seeds, I'll go through the story of every quarter, I'll go through the matches of each quarter, go through dark horses, and then my quarterfinal predictions, semifinals, and final predictions, predicting the winner of the tournament. Please don't forget to subscribe, please don't forget to like all of that stuff. If you are joining in to Anthony's Tennis Hub. This tournament, I thought the men's one was hard to predict. I thought the men's one was a little bit tough. If you've tried predicting the women's tournament, you know what I'm talking about. It's been very hard to predict. But also that just made it a little bit more fun as well. I enjoyed doing this thoroughly. And yeah, I'm excited to get into it. Let's just go straight into the draw. So quarter number one, this is SWIATEK'S quarter. The seeds are SWIATEK, Kerber, Siniakova, Ostapenko, Danielle Collins, Beatrice Haddad-Maia, Krejcikova, and Vondrousova. Storyline of the quarter. SWIATEK, once again, has a very nightmarish draw, very similar to the Australian Open. That's part one of the biggest storylines of this quarter. SWIATEK, she's got Sofia Kenin in the first round, which is exactly what happened in Australia. She's got Ostapenko in her side of the draw, which is constantly happening like it did in Australia. It happened at the US Open where she lost to Ostapenko. She's also got Danielle Collins in section 2. So very similar to Australian Open. She's got some tough names in her section. Siniakova has been playing well on grass. She's in there. Caroline Garcia has been playing well. She's in there. So there's some tough names. Vondrousova also, the defending champion, who's been fairly consistent. I mean, quarterfinals of Roland Garros, quarterfinals of the US Open. That's pretty good. That's pretty good from Vondrousova, and decent consistency at the majors. So those are some of the things. And then, yeah, storyline number 2 might be fairly obvious. Vondrousova trying to defend the title, but I think this section has potentially lots of opportunity. Vondrousova is a player who I enjoy watching. I think she's very flashy on the grass. She can be very crafty. She had some exquisite kind of slice forehand shots. Played an amazing match against Fidley in the semis. Jabeur didn't really show up for the final with the same level. Probably tired from playing RYBAKINA and Sabalenka back to back. But Vondrousova was playing really well and hitting really well off that forehand, and she was playing a good game. Best matches of the quarter, I've got SWIATEK versus Kenin in round 1. Kenin definitely had her chances at the Australian Open, but she's been very up and down, Sofia Kenin, recently. I mean, she can be a danger for nearly anybody, but she can also lose to nearly anybody. Lost to Harriet Dart in Eastbourne, and then she lost to Paquette in tournament in Strasbourg. She lost to Towson at the French. The results haven't been great. She lost to Shramkova in Rome after beating Jabeur, which really shows the dynamic of Kenin. She can beat anybody, but she can also lose to anybody. But it could be interesting. SWIATEK on grass isn't at her best, but she's also running on such good momentum and confidence. I think that she'll have big hopes coming into this Wimbledon, that hopefully she can have the best result that she's had at Wimbledon. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my thoughts with that. Tomljanovic versus Ostapenko. Some bit of drama. I always like it in tennis when there's a bit of drama added element, because it, they might be on friendly terms. Something that happened in a match a long time ago once doesn't mean that now they don't get along. And obviously sportsmanship is a good thing too. But hey, I'm not gonna lie here and say that I don't like it when two players get at each other and add that a little bit of spice and dramatic element to make them want to win that match a little bit more. It can make it exciting, and it's definitely a fun watch for fans. But anyway, there is that drama element there. And Tomljanovic is very good on grass. She's having better results recently. Got to a final, nearly got her first title. Lost to Putintseva. She beat Leylah Fernandez, who did really well last week. She lost to, she beat Potapova, she beat Zhu, she beat Blinkova, who beat Rybakina in Australia, and Putintseva is tough. So, there's some interesting dark horses here, which we'll get to. SWIATEK Siniakova round 3. I think Siniakova is dangerous. She's had some good results in singles recently, some really good results, and she loves grass. Very skilled, talented player. Just talking about Berlin, right? talking about Berlin, she got to the quarterfinals. She beat Emma Navarro. She beat Zhang. And she lost to Pegula at the end of the day. But that was a very good tournament for her as a qualifier into Berlin, which is a 500 tournament. So I'd watch out for Siniakova if I was Swiatek. And then obviously Vondrousova-Swiatek quarterfinal is a very, very interesting one. Very, very interesting. We almost got Vondrousova-Swiatek last year in the semis, but Svitolina managed to fight her way past Swiatek. When Swiatek had an incredible comeback against Bencic, and, Swiatek picks it up in the big moments. That quarterfinal was Swiatek's best run at a Wimbledon so far. So that's what I would say about that. Dark horses, Tomljanovic and Siniakova. Already spoke a bit about both of them. I think they both love the grass courts. Tomljanovic is an Aussie. She grew up playing on grass, and Siniakova just plays a good game on grass, and that shows with that run in Berlin. But this is the quarterfinal that I went with. Actually, right before I give my quarterfinal, I did want to mention one other thing about this draw. Shout out to Francisca Jones in here, because she was born with a thumb and 3 fingers on each hand, which is absolutely incredible, and also only 7 toes as a result of a rare genetic condition. That's amazing that she's able to perform at this level and also get some big wins. She beat Caroline Dolehide a few weeks ago, and I just randomly kind of looked into her in her Wikipedia, and I saw this in her personal life section on Wikipedia. I just happened to see it when it happened. And, that's impressive in itself, and when itself that she can play at this high of a level, and it's amazing. So, shout out to her, and we'll see how she can do. She's playing Martic in the first round. Okay, this is my quarterfinal prediction for the first quarter in the draw in 3, 2, 1. Iga Swiatek defeats Marketa Vondrousova in 3 sets. Swiatek takes out the defending champion. That's what I ended up going with after some thought. I was considering Swiatek having an upset. I wasn't really considering Kenin over Swiatek, although you never know, it might happen. But I was more so considering maybe a Siniakova or an Ostapenko, a Caroline Garcia. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking about Swiatek and how far ahead of the curve she was at Roland Garros, how she's been gaining through matches, even on the hard courts outside of Australia. She's been doing really, really well. I mean, in Dubai, not that great, lost Kalinskaya, but outside of Dubai and Australia, she's been so good. I mean, in Miami, it was Alexandrova performed just an absolute stunner, insane level of a performance, pretty much hitting sabers off returns, a la Federer, and just so aggressive. It took a performance like that to take out Swiatek on hard courts. On grass, it's probably Swiatek's worst surface at this point, but I also just feel like she's so good, and she's so good at being aggressive now from the back of the court and turning that defense into offense, and I feel like she's still switching things up with her serve, and she's still tinkering. She's trying her best. She has dreams of winning Wimbledon. I think she's got the athleticism for Wimbledon. She's a very complete player, and I think that people are going to have a tough time to beat her. I mean, I don't think Garcia's been in the absolute best form. Ostapenko just never has really performed on grass in the way that I would expect that she would, to be honest. It just hasn't really happened. In Birmingham, she lost to Cochereto 6-3, 6-3. It's a grass tournament. I just don't know. I don't know if I would expect Ostapenko to even get to that point to face Swiatek. And so I have Swiatek, and that's Swiatek versus Vondrousova. Vondrousova been very good at getting to quarterfinals, but if Swiatek is good enough to get to that quarterfinal stage, I have Swiatek. I have Swiatek battling through in the quarterfinals. She's done pretty well against Vondrousova in their past matches, and I expect that she could pick it up and have probably her best win on grass to this point. I don't think Vondrousova is going to make the semis, and I kind of back Swiatek. A lot of these picks weren't picks, to be completely honest, of me saying, oh, they're just absolutely dominant on grass courts, and I'm really confident that they're going to get to the stage. Or they're not players that before I saw the draw, I'd be like, oh, they're going to be in the semis, they're going to be in the final. Coming in, I didn't know who I was going to really do. I'm looking at it, trying to look at it from my perspective and opinion realistically, and I came out with Iga. Quarter number 2, seeds, Rybakina, Fernandez, Kalinskaya, Samsonova, Jabeur, Svitolina, Bolter, and Pegula. Quarter 2 is absolutely stacked. It's crazy. Absolutely stacked. I mean, Svitolina was playing amazing ball here last year. Pegula is one of the best informed players. She just got a title. She's looking really good on grass after kind of a sluggish start to the season. But she had a great comeback versus Kalinskaya, saved 5 match points. Good defense on a couple of those match points, but especially just kind of getting forced errors out of Kalinskaya, getting one more ball back, and then they got to a tiebreaker. Pegula got up early in the tiebreaker, and then the match was pretty much over like that. She won tiebreaker 7-2 or something. So a great comeback from Pegula there. Kalinskaya is also in here. Samsonova is in here, who I think is a big talent, can do well on grass. Ons Jabeur, who's made the Wimbledon final the last 2 times. That's not even to mention Rybakina, Bolter, Fernandez. I mean, every person in here, Samsonova is not really in form, but you could say about the other 7 players, they're all players that you would look at as dangers in the draw. This is stacked. It's absolutely stacked. So, storyline of the quarter, stacked draw. Also, how is Rybakina looking health-wise? Even though all of those names are big dangers, if Rybakina is playing at her best, I don't know if anybody in tennis can touch her. If Rybakina is playing her peak tennis, I don't know if anybody touches her. Swiatek, Sabalenka. If Rybakina is at her peak, I kind of think that she's the best player in the world. Now, she can't always be at her peak, where she's just kind of painting lines and being so high percentage on first serve and crushing serves and moving elegantly around the court and playing her game, you know? When she's at her best, she's incredible. The way her pace generation off both wings, very talented. And at her best, she's great, but she needs to be healthy. I like her on grass. It's obviously where she won her first major. She won Wimbledon a couple of years ago and kind of announced herself to the tour. Now she's in a more kind of easier seating position, which helps. But yeah, it's all about the health of Rybakina. I am not an expert. I'm not in her camp. I'm not, I don't know what's going on in her head or what's going on with her body, but I am more optimistic from the things I've seen, the things I've heard than I am with Sabalenka, for example. Sabalenka seems like she's doing her best just to get onto the court to play her first match. I haven't heard things like that from Rybakina. At times Rybakina can be a little bit more quiet about her situations, but still, I just haven't heard those things from Rybakina. I've seen Rybakina out on the practice court. She's looking decent. She's looking happy. And I just feel like with Sabalenka, she's expressed deep concerns of maybe even having trouble playing this tournament, her shoulder issues, service, making it hard to serve. So I'm a little bit more optimistic about Rybakina, but we'll see how she looks health-wise. Matches of the quarter, best match of the quarter. I'm just going to rattle off a few here. Montgomery versus Jabeur, round 2. Watch out for this one. Montgomery qualified in. Great player. Absolutely great player. Had a great match versus Sabalenka in Madrid a couple months ago, and she's just a young player to look out for. Parks, Fernandez, round 2. Rematch of a Parks upset over Fernandez in Australia a couple years ago. It's also just a big clash of styles between the two of them. Parks playing a bit much more aggressive game than Fernandez, although Fernandez was hitting some big shots this last week, which was really impressive when she was playing in Eastbourne. Beat Madison Keys, who's also a very big hitting player, beat Krajicova. She had some big wins there to get to a final, 500 final. So Fernandez is playing well. She's going to be looking for revenge. She's more informed than Parks getting to a 500 final, but Parks might enjoy the grass more. I don't even know. I don't know. So it would be interesting to see Fernandez, who her natural way might not be to be on the baseline just cracking winners. That's not really her strengths necessarily, but she can also hit some big forehands, and we'll see if she's able to do that against Parks. Pegula versus Bolter, round 3, just stands out. Bolter's very informed. She's won 2 titles this year. Grew up playing on grass. She loves the grass. 2 of the most informed players. Absolutely look out for this one. Pegula Jabeur, round 4. Absolutely another one to look out for. Wozniacki versus Parks, round 1 is just a showstopper of the first round. Could also be obviously Wozniacki Fernandez, round 2. If Parks loses to Wozniacki, we'll see what happens. Wozniacki just beat Svitolina, which was a good win for her after a bit of an injury scare there as well. But Caroline Wozniacki playing well. Even though grass was never her best surface. But then also Rybakina versus Jabeur, quarterfinal rematch, part 3, potentially. There's a lot of other big names here who could stop that. But part 3, I put a lot of exclamation points there, that you could see. Yeah, that is the big one. Rybakina Jabeur, it was an amazing match last year that got overshadowed by Azarenka Svitolina, got overshadowed especially by Sabalenka Jabeur, which I thought was one of the best women's matches I've seen in the last 5 years. Yeah, it got overshadowed, but that was a great match last year. Obviously, it was the final a couple of years ago. So I'd look out for that one. I think a lot of people are hoping that Ons can have a deep run here, including myself. I'm hoping that Ons can. It would be awesome to see Ons pick up a title. I mean, she really deserves it. She would end up being, in my opinion, the greatest player to never win a Grand Slam title. If she doesn't, there's a lot of other great players to name. Mary Jo Fernandez, Dinara Safina, a lot of other great players, but she would definitely be near the top of the list, and in my opinion, the top of the list. She is so good, and on grass might be her best chances, so I'd look out for that one. Just to rattle off some dark horses, Katie Boulter, Svitolina, Kalinskaya, if she even counts as a dark horse. She's kind of borderline. But yeah, Kalinskaya I would definitely look out for. But also Marie Boskova as well. I would point her out as well. She really likes grass. She's been playing pretty well recently. She got to the third round, I believe, of both the first two majors of the year this year. And yeah, she's been having good results, so I would not necessarily count her out at all. I would not count Boskova out. She's had good results at Wimbledon in the past. She's gotten to the quarterfinal of Wimbledon. I believe she got to the fourth round last year. So, just another dark horse in Boskova for sure. Cause she can play really well. And she played well against Swiatek, to be honest. It's just Swiatek, after winning that first set, especially at the French Open, she kind of ran away with the match. But Boskova is pretty good, and I would look out for her. This is my quarterfinal. After all of those names and dark horses in there, this is what I decided to go with. Once again, with this one, I was trying to put in a lot of thought with all these matchups, the way I thought they could go. Here is what I ended up going with. I ended up going with Elena Rybakina taking out Ons Jabeur in 2 sets. Elena Rybakina, and I am hoping and I am relying on the fact that Rybakina is healthy. Because, once again, I picked Alcaraz to win the French, and I was relying on the fact that he would be fairly healthy going in. I ended up getting that one right. I'm hoping that Elena is at least healthy coming into the tournament. If she is, I think she should be an absolute just... She stands out to me among the crowd of names in this tournament. I'll just put it that way. And I have her taking out on Jabeur in 2 sets. Jabeur's been playing better, but I also feel like there's a little bit to be desired. I mean, she's been doing much better on the natural surfaces. She's been doing better, but let's say this. I mean, she lost to Kenin in Rome. At the French, she did very, very well. But I'm looking at her last couple of events on grass. She lost to Pliskova, 2 very close sets that I feel like she could have won in that match. In Berlin, she lost the first set to Gauff in a very close tiebreaker with some very close moments, and then she had to withdraw from that match. So hoping that Jabeur is healthy as well. But but she's looking good coming into Wimbledon. But I just feel like Rybakina at this stage, it might be too much for Jabeur. I just am very high on Rybakina, to be honest. Rybakina nearly won the match last year, took the first set, fought very well to take that first set. And Jabeur just played, I thought, the best level I've ever seen from Ons Jabeur in those last 2 sets. I still think it's the best level I've ever seen her play. She breadsticked Elena Rybakina. So I would say, but I think that this time around, mentally, it might be too much for Ons to do it after, after losing the final 2 years ago and then being able to beat Rybakina but still not being able to take that title home. And I just feel like Rybakina might be able to do it in 2 very close sets. I do feel like Jabeur's been losing close sets recently, and it would be a good run to get to the quarters, but mentally, I don't know if she will be able to get through that line versus Elena Rybakina. I will mention this as well. Jabeur has won all of the last 4 meetings versus Jessica Pegula, which is part of why I think Jabeur will beat Pegula in the 4th round. If Boulter doesn't beat Pegula first, and if Boulter gets through, I expect Jabeur will beat Boulter as well. So that's how I expect that side to pan out. On the other side, I think Rybakina can take out Kalinskaya and hit through her. I think Fernandez, I think she can hit through Fernandez and beat her as well. Even maybe Fernandez takes a set, but I expect Rybakina to get through those names. So I have Rybakina making it to the semifinals. Quarter number 3, Zhang Pavlyuchenkova. This is where the names might be a little bit more surprising once we get to the bottom half of the draw, but here it is. Zhang Pavlyuchenkova, Alexandrova, Maria Sakkari, Kazatkina. Andreeva, Mira Andreeva, Yamstremska, and Arina Sabalenka. Storyline of the quarter, biggest storyline. Totally wide open quarter. Loads of chances and very, very unpredictable. That's what I said. Very unpredictable. That's how I felt when I was putting this together. I was racking my brain trying to figure out who gets through this quarter. Whether it's Zhang, whether it's Pavlyuchenkova, whether it's Sakkari, I'm just not that high on all of those names at the moment, let alone on grass. Zhang, I felt like in her last match that she played in Berlin, she kind of lost to herself. I mean, Siniakova did play well. Like I said, I've been high on Siniakova, but Zhang, for whatever reason, has been doing very well against Naomi Osaka recently. But mostly outside of that, she's been losing the other matches. And the same thing happened in Berlin. Against Siniakova, she was just hitting winners. I didn't love how Zhang looked on grass last year. Listen, she's got the firepower for grass. I think eventually she could be quite good on grass, but her serve has lots of ways to be improved. Her unforced errors can get out of hand. So I'm just not sure about Zhang. Sabalenka, I'm not convinced that her health will be there to really be there at her best. So I thought through a lot of names here. And then, I mean, just looking at the other names as well. I mean, you have Alexandrova, Raducanu, you never know. And on the other side, you have Kasatkina, who just did very well, got a title. Mira Andreeva got to the 4th round last year, playing very well, adapting to the grass very quickly. But I think I'm not that convinced that Sabalenka's health is going to be there, even if she's able to make a 4th round or quarterfinals. I'm not sure that she's going to be able to perform the way she wants to. I mean, even at the French Open, in the quarterfinals versus Mira Andreeva, Mira definitely deserved that win and played very well, but I felt like Sabalenka wasn't able to get through her physical issue. I'm not sure she's going to be able to here, even though it's different circumstances, but I just feel like, I don't know. I'm not that convinced. So I think it's very wide open. And I'll tell you what I ended up going with. But matches of the quarter, Alexandrova versus Raducanu round 1. I think that's one of the ones that stood out to people right away, along with SWIATEK'S. For example, the other one, Badoza versus Muchova round 1 is another really good match. And I picked 3 here. The other one is Vekic versus Sabalenka round 2. Those are the matches that I think could be the most interesting. Watch out for Donna Vekic. I won't say that she's been performing amazingly recently, Vekic, but she usually plays different on grass, and she did just reach the final of Bad Homburg. The player she had to beat there, Tomova, she beat Alexandrova, Bronzetti. So actually, recently she actually has been doing pretty well. She lost to Pegula in Berlin. She lost to Minin in Saratogenbosch, which isn't a great loss, but anyway, Minin can beat a good player or two as well. And I don't know, I feel I back Vekic when it comes to grass. And also, I will say this. Vekic is 50-34 on grass courts. She's lost early at Wimbledon a lot, but here are the players she's lost to. She's lost to Karolina Pliskova, who reached the final a few years ago, obviously. Jessica Pegula, and also Vondrousova. Those are the players she's lost to. It's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. So those are some of the things I would say. Also about Badoza versus Muchova. 2 players kind of coming back from injury, very interesting match. Muchova looked very good to start off last week when she was playing. Muchova looked very good. She just got injured again. So if she's not injured, she looks amazing, Muchova, but her body just can't let her play. But yeah, I mean, here's what I will say. Badoza Muchova is a rematch of a Wimbledon match some years ago. 2021 Wimbledon, Muchova won 7-6, 6-4. And the other thing I will say is there's a lot of interesting early round matches, but it was very hard for me to pick who was going to be in the quarterfinals here. I went back and forth with lots of different players, dark horses. I have Vekic in here as a big dark horse in my book. I think she's primed for a very big result on a grass in a big tournament, Wimbledon. Raducanu is a big dark horse. She's been performing much better recently. I feel like playing the bigger points better. She's looking happier, more confident. She's hitting big, and yeah, I mean, she's doing really well. In Eastbourne, she took out Jessica Pegula, got her first top 10 win. She kind of steamrolled over Stevens right before that, just lost to Kasatkina. Didn't play great against Kasatkina, but still, she's somebody to look out for from the home crowd at a major. She's done well at a major before. And yeah, I think she likes grass, and she's somebody to look out for. She did reach the 4th round here a few years ago. We shouldn't forget that. So she's a dark horse. Badoza is a dark horse as well, and Mira Andreeva. Mira Andreeva did really well a few years ago, but I just don't know. She didn't beat any players there that I felt like were absolutely just hard-hitting grass quarters, absolute expert grass quarters. And I feel like she could have a tougher time playing, I don't know about expert grass quarters, but she could have a tougher time playing Kasatkina in the 3rd round, or even Badoza or Muhova in the 2nd round, or even, Sabalenka or Vekic in the 4th round. I mean, she did really, really well. Her defense, Mira Andreeva's, is incredible. I still feel like she has a little bit to be desired from on the serve. In that 3rd round match last year, she had some ridiculous defensive points, and I feel like if she plays a player who's able to finish off the points better on a grass court and hit through the court a little bit better, than her opponent last year, who I am forgetting who she played at Wimbledon, so let me look that up real quick. But Mira Andreeva was dependent on her defense in that match, who she did play last year. And I felt like that was one of the big things in that one. I'm looking at that player real quick. Let me find that. So it was Potapova. She won 6-2, 7-5. Potapova had chances to put it away, had loads of chances to put every other point away, but Mira Andreeva's defense was so good as well. But I felt like somebody who would finish off the points better at this point might beat Andreeva, and also who's able to crack returns. I feel like there are a few players there that could do quite well with that. I feel like Badoza versus Kasatkina could be a matchup. Here's what I think about that matchup. Kasatkina did very, very well to do a grass title, but I'm not always going to fall into recency to say the person who just won a title is definitely going to make it super far. Kasatkina lost in the 2nd round of both of the majors that have been played this year, which isn't great. Badoza also beat Kasatkina last year, 6-1, 6-1. She is 2-2 against her. So, I was very close to putting Badoza in as a quarterfinalist or a semifinalist here. I was very close. I think she has a high chance of beating Andreeva and Kasatkina and Muhova. I think that is something that could happen. I have Badoza potentially reaching the 4th round in my draw, but this is what I ended up going with after just going back and forth with lots of names, thinking about Kasatkina, who I don't think is a bad pick. Mira Andreeva, somebody to watch. I'm always very high on Andreeva, despite what I said on grass. I think maybe she needs a couple of years for some improvements in her game, but here's what I ended up going with after thinking through some names, and I was surprised that I went with this, but this is what I ended up going with. Quarterfinal prediction in 3, 2, 1. Donna Vekic defeats Zhang in 3 sets. Donna Vekic beats Qinwen Zhang in 3 sets. I was surprised. I didn't think I would go with this, but I do like Vekic on grass. Got to a final last year, I believe in Berlin, lost to Kvitova on grass. And I just feel like Vekic could pick it up with an open draw. Zhang, I didn't expect to pick at all, but I don't know who's getting through that section. I honestly don't know who's getting through that section 5. And once again, I'm not really backing Sabalenka that much. I think Vekic can beat Sabalenka. She beat her earlier in the year when Sabalenka was healthy on grass. With Sabalenka struggling, I feel like it could be danger for Sabalenka. So that's what I ended up going with. And in section 5, Sakkari, I'm not backing that much at slams. I don't really love her on grass. Alexandrova is interesting. Raducanu, I honestly thought about for a second. I thought I was going to have Badoza versus Raducanu. And then I started thinking, what is this draw video? I started rethinking everything. I was like, what is this draw? What is this? Am I even doing anything logically here? But no, I ended up going with Vekic and Zhang. It was close to being Raducanu and Badoza. Relatively close. But yeah, Pavlyuchenkova, I think Zhang can get through her. I don't think Sakkari makes it far. Raducanu, I don't know if I back her right now to go that far in a slam. And Alexandrova is a tough first-round opponent, to be fair. Alexandrova lost to Vekic in 3 sets in Bad Homburg. She lost to Gauff in Berlin. She lost to Samsonova and Sarah Toggenbosch. That's not so bad. So Alexandrova could be somebody to watch. I just haven't loved her game recently. And I would probably back I'd probably back Zhang over Alexandrova. I think Zhang can do well on grass, and at least make the quarterfinals with a draw that I think is fairly open. Alexandrova can make it. Alexandrova can make it there, but I'm going to stick with my pick and go with Zhang, because I'm just not backing that much Alexandrova at majors. Like, just looking at Alexandrova's best performances at majors, she's made one fourth round, although it was at Wimbledon last year. So Alexandrova is interesting, but I'm going to go with Donna Vekic over Zhang in 3 sets. Vekic isn't somebody that I'm expecting is just going to be straight setting players that get to the quarterfinals. I put this as a 3-setter. Zhang seems to play a lot of 3-setters. When Zhang is on, she is on. And she'll have the confidence from that Australian Open final earlier in the year. She knows she can do well at Slam Zhang, even though that draw was pretty open. But I'm going to go with Vekic defeats Zhang in 3 sets. So that's what I was going to do. I went back and forth on that quarter. I think this one's pretty open as well. All right, in seeds for quarter 4, I've got Jasmine Paolini, Linda Noskova, Marta Kostyuk, Madison Keys, Victoria Azarenka, Emma Navarro, Sorana Cirstea, and Coco Gauff. Biggest storyline of the quarter. Also pretty open. And how is Coco looking on the grass? Can she make it through as the top seed in this quarter? Gauff is somebody who, I mean, she broke through on grass. I'm not that high on her on grass at the moment, the way that her forehand doesn't necessarily penetrate through the court as much as maybe she would like, and sometimes it can be broken down by some of the hardest hitting players on the tour, I feel like. Or even Pegula, I mean, her forehand was kind of a weakness in that match there too, where, I mean, Pegula can have hard forehands, but she's not a Sabalenka type or Rybakina type. And I feel like her forehand is a problem, but she's still just such a top. First of all, her mentality is fantastic. Let's get that out of the way. A contender for best mentality on tour, along with Iga. And she also, and Jabeur as well, and a few other players, but she's right at the top. And she's just, she's such a top tier player at the moment, and she has performed decently on grass in the past. Pegula isn't a bad loss the way Pegula was playing there. I feel, like I said, I feel like it's pretty open. There's some opportunity for Gauff to at least make the semifinals. Paolini's been doing well. I feel like that, I don't know if I would pack Paolini that much on grass though. But yeah, for Gauff in the section, I mean, there's nobody really that completely stands out to me. I mean, Keys is somebody that I'd always look out for. Azarenka did well here last year, but there's nobody that crazy that I would look out for that I feel like is definitely a huge upset alert over Gauff if they do play at this point. So I would just say that. Yeah, just going on straight to the storyline, to the matches of the quarter. I've got Azarenka versus Stevens in round 1. Stevens is always an interesting name versus Victoria Azarenka will be interesting. Pliskova versus Azarenka in round 2 could be a fun one as well. Pliskova just beat Ons Jabeur. She's always a top threat on grass. So I just feel like any section of the draw with her name, that's a name you don't want to see. She did just lose to Caroline Dolehide in Birmingham, which wasn't a great loss for her, 7-6 in the third. But right before that in Nottingham, she had a tournament where she beat Alicia Parks, Heather Watson, Ons Jabeur, Diana Paris, and then also she lost to Bolter in the final in 3 sets, but that was a top tournament for her. So that's why she's the first dark horse that I name. But the other match that I want to name that could be very good in this quarter is Jasmine Paolini versus Madison Keys in the 4th round, which I think could be quite good as well. Dark horses, I put Schneider in here, who just won a title, I believe, in Bad Homburg. So she's somebody absolutely to look out for. She's been doing well. She likes playing on the grass. Caroline Dolehide is a player that I would mention as well. She's had a few good wins recently, like against Pliskova, so I just point her out as well. And she did reach the final of Guadalajara last year, playing very, very well. Even though the draw was very open, she was playing very, very well at the time. And yeah, she was serving well and playing very well. So I'd look out for her. Quarterfinal of quarter 4, I've got in 3, 2, 1. Coco Gauff defeats Madison Keys in 2 sets. That is my prediction for this one. I didn't really think I was going to push Gauff very far here, but I do like Gauff's draw. I like her beating Cirstea, Azarenka, Navarro. I feel like those are players that Gauff can beat when it comes to the grass courts. Madison Keys been a little bit up and down, just lost Fernandez last week. I feel like this quarter is also very open. The bottom half is very, very open. I feel like a lot of the top names that I'm most worried about on the grass come in the second quarter of the draw. In this one, I feel like Gauff, she likes playing Keys, I think, and I just feel like she can get through Keys in 2 sets, so I give her straight sets. Semifinals, we have Rybakina versus Swiatek, and we also have Gauff versus Vekic. I will give my predictions in 3, 2, 1. Jelena Rybakina defeats Iga Swiatek in 3 sets. 3-setter for Rybakina over Swiatek. Swiatek giving Rybakina a test and playing her best level on grass to this point so far. But if Rybakina is healthy, I just back her on grass at this point. She should be such a top threat. Jabeur is one of the biggest threats on this surface, and if she can beat her in the quarterfinals, she'll be playing great. And it's a tough matchup for Swiatek anyway. She can be pushed back when she's playing Rybakina. That's not the way that Swiatek really likes to play. When she's playing a big hitter like Rybakina, I have Rybakina beating her in 3 sets, and I feel like Rybakina will come into this tournament with something to prove. Sabalenka won the first major of the year. Swiatek won the second major of the year. And I think Swiatek would do very well to push this to 3 sets, but I have Rybakina getting that one. Semifinal number 2, Gauff versus Vekic for the second finalist in 3, 2, 1. Also 3 sets. I've got Coco Gauff defeats Donna Vekic in 3 sets. Gauff's mentality is unrivaled. She's been in this stage many times before. She's lost in the semifinals a lot this year, but it's a major semifinal. It's a different stage, and I feel like she's not playing Swiatek. She's not playing Sabalenka. She'll be utterly determined. I think she can get it done in 3 sets. Once again, I didn't expect I would pick Gauff to get through here. I was a little bit worried about her forehand against Pegula, which I felt like wasn't a good enough weapon. But once it comes to these players, when I looked at her draw, it just played out the way, if she has the players that I put in front of her, in Vekic, in Madison Keys, who has been doing just okay recently. If she does get those players, then I feel like these are players that she can beat, and I push her through to the final. Rybakina versus Gauff, and I will give my prediction for the champion in 3, 2, 1. Jelena Rybakina defeats Coco Gauff in 2 sets. She takes out Coco and gets it done in straight sets in the final. I feel like Rybakina is more comfortable on the grass. And we'll see if Rybakina can be consistent through this tournament, keep a top level, not really let her put her guard down, be mentally solid, get her physicality right, her health. But if she's there, I think she can take out Coco. I think she'll love the forehand. She'll be able to push Gauff back, and I just feel like Rybakina is much more comfortable on the surface. So I have Jelena Rybakina winning her second major and really doing what we've been waiting for this year, which is being healthy and playing at her best tennis on a surface she loves. She lost in the second round of Australia to Blinkova. Let's see if she can do a little bit better here. She is in a tough quarter of the draw. But if she can get through that one, I think she can go all the way against the names that I put there, like Coco and like Swiatek, who I think will be tough. I said Swiatek could push her to 3 sets, but that's a good matchup for Rybakina, and also I feel like she likes the surface way more than both Gauff and Swiatek. So it's a weird women's tournament to predict. We don't know the health. We don't know exactly who's going to be the most informed. It's been very hard to predict. The men's was very hard to predict, and this one's very hard to predict as well. It's been unpredictable the last couple of seasons, not just with Vondrousova, but also with Rybakina when she got the win. But at the end of the day, I have Rybakina taking out Coco in straight sets. Thanks everybody for watching, and join along for more videos that I do throughout Wimbledon. And yeah, please don't forget to like, subscribe. I'll see you guys at the next Anthony's Tennis Hub video.